My name is Sandy Horton. I'm a mother of 2 students at Highview Elementary School. I'm the secretary of the Highview School Council. And some of you may recognize me. I've attended all but one of the South Arc meetings, as well as several board meetings and several committee of the whole meetings. So when I was trying to come up with what I was going to say tonight, I quickly decided on what I wasn't going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss how illogical it is to hold secondary arcs before the elementary arcs. How illogical it is to decide which schools to close before knowing when or where or if a new school is going to be built. How illogical it is to have schools with multiple portables while other schools sit empty or with empty spaces. I'm not going to mention that Sherwood has one of the best academic, athletic, and charitable records in the city, and how it is the only below-capacity secondary school in the city to show an increase in enrollment over the last 5 years. Or that the board's own 10-year enrollment projections show that Sherwood will still have the highest enrollment, second only to Westmount in the South Arc. I won't point out how unethical it is for the board staff to manipulate a ministry-mandated process that is supposed to be based on public input. How over a 10-year period, the board staff intentionally neglected the schools that they were going to recommend for closure and then used their facility conditions as the primary reason for the recommendation. Mountain, Parkside, Parkview, Sherwood, and Hill Park make up 5 of the 6 ARC secondary schools receiving the least in capital funding from 2000 to 2010. I won't talk about how unfair it is that by the board's own data, Westmount, with a higher FCI than Sherwood, has received tens of millions of dollars in capital expenditures, while Sherwood's lower FCI was used as the primary reason for its closure recommendation. I won't explain how inconsistent the board's terms of reference are across the city. How we were told that Westmount was excluded because it was over capacity, but Westdale, also over capacity, was included. How we were told that Saltfleet was excluded because it was new, at 16 years old, but Prince of Wales, at 1 year old, was included. How we were told that the self-paced program was excluded because it is a system-wide program, but the Mountain and Parkview programs, both system-wide programs, were included. I won't ask how Ken Bain could be quoted in The Spectator on November 25th, 2010, as saying, "We value what the community has to say," and then ignore a petition with over 3,000 signatures asking for the terms of reference in the South Arc to be changed to include all 7 schools. In fact, that petition's presentation never even made the minutes of the meeting. I won't point out the flaw in failing to separate Westmount, the building, from the self-paced program. In fact, tonight that flaw continued. Ms. Orban and Ms. Davis both referred to it as the Westmount program. I won't discuss the errors made in the SIP data, which were pointed out over a year ago and still have not been amended in the information provided to the public on the board's website. Was it changed before it was provided to you? Or the mathematical errors made in the Dalewood ARC that resulted in one of the schools being deemed prohibitive to repair, which is not true and to which the staff have still not admitted. I won't mention how unfair it is that the South Arc Committee was required to provide programming recommendations at the conclusion of their process, while the staff has said that they will not present theirs until the fall. I won't talk about how unethical it is for the staff to change their South Arc recommendations at the 11th hour with no explanation, or use loopholes to change the out-of-catchment rules for Billy Green in the middle of the ARC process. And I won't discuss how obvious it is that the problems in the South Arc lie in the West, with Westmount already over capacity and continuing to poach students from other mountain schools, and low enrollments in McNabb and Ancaster High. And I won't ask how closing schools in the East is going to solve that problem. And I definitely will not bring up how maddening it is that Westmount, the very school that we have been prevented from discussing, debating, or even mentioning for the last year and a half, asked for and received delegation status at this meeting. No, what I wanted to focus on was perception. I want you as trustees to understand how the general public perceives the HWDSB and your role in it. The public views the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board as a group of elitist individuals who ruled the school board from their ivory tower with no sense of the real world. This is evidenced by the decision to build a new $30 million headquarter amid ARC processes and school closures. The public thinks that the trustees' power is absolute and that they are responsible for deciding everything from which schools to close to what color to paint the front doors. How do I know this? Because up until a year ago, when I started following the ARC process, that is what I believed. I now understand that the board is really run by John Malloy and his minions. And they run...
So I'm going to remind you, as I reminded the other speaker, that we want respectful presentations tonight. Thank you very much.
They make all the decisions, and the trustees merely rubber stamp them. How does this happen? Because the trustees let it happen. But what the trustees don't understand is that every time the staff makes a decision that is unfair, unethical, or just plain wrong, the public views it as a trustee decision. They believe it's the trustees that have been misleading us. It is the trustees that have been neglecting our schools. It is the trustees that have been insulting our intelligence with their "we know what's best for you" arrogance. But that can change. Here is your chance to distance yourself from John Malloy and his staff. Here is your chance to tell them that their behavior over the last year and a half is unacceptable. Here is a chance to take back your power. Look at the information, the accurate information. Listen to the public input. That will lead you to the correct decision, which is to leave Sherwood open. If you cannot see your way clear to make that right decision, then at least do the fair thing and restart the South process with all schools on equal footing, without secret agendas, and with true public input. Thank you.
Any questions for clarification? Seeing none, I need somebody to recommend receipt of the presentation. Thank you, Trustee Orban. Trustee Turks for seconding. All in favor of receiving the presentation? Trustee Brennan, Trustee Hicks, Trustee White, Trustee Orban, Trustee Mulholland, Trustee Barlow, Trustee Bishop, Student Trustee Janis, Student Trustee Sen, Trustee Turkstra. Opposed to receiving the recommendation? Trustee Johnstone. Abstaining? Trustee Simmons. Thank you.